It's time once again to take a look at the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator. Today we go on to tankathon.com and see who might be the team that gets the first overall pick in the 2024 draft. Then we'll pick the top 10 selections, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, this time of year, usually every 2, 3, 4 weeks, we like to hop on to tankathon.com and have a little fun with the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator. Now, of course, we're halfway through the season. The standings are going to change, yes, but they probably won't change drastically for the bottom 5 to 10 teams that are vying for this first overall selection, have the best odds of winning it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a quick look at the standings, take a look at the Draft Lottery Simulator on tankathon.com, run a simulation to see, as of right now, if the season was over, who would win. Of course, remember, you can only move up a maximum of 10 spots, and there's 2 lottery spots up for grabs. So if you're not, within that, top 10, top 11 teams, you can't go all the way to number 1. So if you're in the lottery, but you're like 13, 14, you can still win and move up your 10 spots, but you're not getting first overall. So that could happen. The odds of it happening are significantly less, and we will quickly review the odds on the Tankathon website to see what the odds of each spot winning is quickly before we run the simulation. So we'll hop onto the computer, go onto tankathon.com, run the simulation, and then based on that result, I'll give you who I think will end up being the top 10 picks in this year's 2024 NHL Draft. Okay, so as you can see, we're now on the tankathon.com website. As of right now, as I record this video on January 18th, as I said, these are the standings. So this shows you the teams in reverse order that have the best odds right now of winning. Of course, the Sharks are the worst team in the league, followed by Chicago, Anaheim, Ottawa, Columbus, Minnesota, Buffalo, Montreal, St. Louis, Seattle, Calgary, Arizona, the Islanders, Tampa, who has their first round pick traded to Chicago, New Jersey, and Washington. So those are the teams right now that are technically in the lottery here as of today. If you take a look at the odds here, we'll switch over to another tab. Even though the Sharks are the worst team and have the best odds, they still only have a 25.5% chance of winning first overall. But there's a 55% chance they'll end up in third, which means this odds are still against them that they will not win either lottery spot and end up moving down 2 spots to number 3. Obviously, that's just the way things work with this lottery and how the order is and the weightings are structured here. So clearly, like I said, you can move up 10 spots. So unless you're Calgary or above here, you can't go all the way to number 1. But moving up 10 spots, even if you're 13, 14, still pretty awesome and still going to get you a way stronger, more advanced prospect. So let's jump over here back to the other tab where it shows you the teams, and we'll simulate the lottery to see who would be the lucky team to get first overall in the 2024 NHL Draft. Okay, here we go. There you have it, folks. The Chicago Blackhawks win the lottery. I think this is the third one of these I've done this year, and the Blackhawks win again. That would be 2 years in a row. Obviously, they got Connor Bedard last year. Clearly, they would not be allowed to win first overall again because there is a rule now that you can only have first overall twice in a 5-year span. So, but I think the Blackhawks would be fine and would take it. The Jackets also win a lottery spot and move up 3 spots as well to number 2. And that bumps San Jose down 2 spots to 3. And it bumps down the Ducks and the Senators 1 spot each down to 4 and 5 respectively. So there's your draft order. So let's now jump over and I'll show you who I think each team would pick with the top 10 picks based on this draft order. Selecting first overall, we have the Chicago Blackhawks, and no doubt they would take Macklin Celebrini, the consensus number 1 overall pick. Canadian-born in BC, playing at BU and having a phenomenal season. Had a really solid World Junior tournament for the Canadian team. Unfortunately, they were eliminated early, but he himself did play well. Is considered a dynamic, dangerous, deceptive, and just really overall phenomenal player. I don't think he's going to be quite the level that Connor Bedard is, but still a really good first overall selection and projects to be an extremely strong NHL player, be a great fit with the Blackhawks. Number 2 overall would be the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I actually have them selecting Ivan Demidov. Demidov has been rising here in the rankings. Some have him moving ahead of Cole Yzerman now. Certainly the Blue Jackets, I think, need a little bit of everything on that roster. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a new general manager picking by the time the draft rolls around, but this guy is playing obviously in the KHL, high-flying winger, has terrific puck skills. He is signed in Russia until 2025, which might be a concern, but certainly looks like he's well worth the wait. He's dominated over there in the Russian leagues, and certainly looks like he could project to be a high-end NHL winger. Selecting 3rd overall, we have the San Jose Sharks, and I think they'd be quite content at 3 to pick Cole Yzerman, assuming he's still available there. The American-born forward normally plays on the left wing, has a lethal shot. That's what he's most known for. Cole Yzerman, unfortunately, was not part of the U.S. World Junior team at this year's tournament over in Sweden, but still having a solid season. Certainly, it's tough to make those teams as an underager anyhow. Does draw some comparisons to the way he shoots, like Austin Matthews. He will not be, I don't think, an NHL player like Matthews. They play a different position as well, but he does have a wicked shot and provides a lot of goal-scoring ability. I think he could be a good complement to a guy like Will Smith, who's one of the top prospects with the Sharks right now. Selecting at 4th overall, we have the Anaheim Ducks, and I would have them selecting Artem Lovchinov, the big Russian defenseman currently playing defense with Michigan State in the NCAA. I know the Ducks they have a lot of good blue liners. They do have a lot of good young forwards as well. They have a lot of interesting young prospects. But with the recent trade of Jamie Drysdale, I think they did that with the, keeping in mind that they're going to probably have a top 5 pick in this draft, and they have a good chance to grab a top D. I really like Lovchinov personally for the Ducks. Has great puck skills, projects to be a real big mobile offensive defenseman who can run a power play, and in my opinion still is a top D in the draft, even though he is getting some competition from Sam Dickinson. I think Lovchinov's the better fit here for the Ducks. At 5 overall, we have the Ottawa Senators, and I have them taking Sam Dickinson, the next best defenseman here, in my opinion, in this NHL draft. Certainly the top 3 or 4 players in the draft likely going to be forwards, and then you're going to see a little bit of a run on D before we swing back and forth a little bit. But the Sens, obviously, their biggest issue right now is defending. Dickinson could be a part of that solution down the road. He certainly has good size of 6'3", very mobile as well. If you have size and mobility back there, that's kind of what they could use. They could use a little bit of beef. They do have Tyler Clevin in the pipeline, but I think a guy like Dickinson could be a big help as well. But he has a terrific shot. He's reliable at both ends of the ice, and just that size, strength, and mobility could be a great fit for what's missing in Ottawa right now. Next up, we have the Minnesota Wild picking at 6th overall, and I have them selecting Konsta Helenius. Now, Helenius himself did have a pretty good World Junior for the Finns at this year's tournament. Certainly a top player. He is a guy who's been in the top in the Finnish league at a young age, plays a physical game, has great speed. He has skills that make him be able to dominate and drive play within his line. So he's not just somebody who's going to be a complimentary player. I think he'll be a play driver and could turn out to be a real solid top 6 forward in the NHL. Next up at 7, we have the Buffalo Sabres, and I have them selecting Caden Lindstrom. I think Lindstrom, with what's available here, would be a great pick for the Buffalo Sabres. I know they have a lot of good young players, but certainly this guy comes with a lot of size and speed, and I think will be a terrific fit for the Buffalo Sabres. Lindstrom comes in at 6'4", 216 pounds, and can play all 3 forward positions. Currently on pace for a great season and has 27 goals this year in the WHL in 32 games. I think he could be a great piece, something different that the Sabres might be missing in that forward group. Next up at 8th overall, we have the Montreal Canadiens, and I have them selecting Berkeley Catton, who comes from the Spokane Chiefs in the Western Hockey League. There's been times this year when Catton's been ranked a little bit higher. I've seen him be on some charts at 5, 6, sometimes 7, but currently right now I have him at number 8. I think he'd be a good fit for Montreal. I know some might say, we have enough small forwards as it is. He's not overly big, but he's a very talented offensive player. He's a hardworking center as well. Might be a winger at the NHL. That remains to be seen. But he has a great mix of speed, skill, very smart player. Might have the highest hockey IQ in this draft. So I wouldn't overanalyze his size here. I think he could still be a tremendous fit with the Montreal Canadiens here, regardless of that. Next up at 9, we have the St. Louis Blues, and I have them selecting defenseman Anton Silyaev. I think Anton Silyaev would be a good pick here for St. Louis. They have a variety of choices. They could go with a forward or a D in this case. Personally, I think looking at the Blues, they do have some interesting forwards coming along. Their D core is something that they've been wanting to change the mix up, and they can have a few good promising D prospects coming along the way here in the next couple of years. I think would go a long way to helping them kind of reshape their blue line. So I like Silyaev here for St. Louis. At number 10 overall, we have the Seattle Kraken, and I have them selecting another D-man here in Adam Jiricek. Of course, the brother of David Jiricek, the high pick a couple years back to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Obviously a defenseman here from Czechia, very, very capable of playing a real solid two-way game. He seems to read the play really well. Has very high hockey IQ and good offensive skills. Did represent his country at this year's World Junior Championship Tournament. Unfortunately, ended up suffering an injury early on and did miss some time. But Adam Jiricek, to me, makes a lot of sense for the Kraken. Obviously, they're still a fairly new team with not a deep history and a ton of picks over the couple of years they've been in the league. But as time goes on, they need to add both ends of the ice. And I think right now, if you take a look at things, to me, he makes sense. They could kind of surprise me here and maybe go with the forwards. There's a few intriguing forwards at number 10 that could be a nice option for them. But I think, like I said, you build championships from the back end out, in my opinion. And it's just Jiricek, to me, has a real solid top 4 potential that could be a great fit for them down the road. So those are my top 10 picks. Obviously, the draft lottery simulation is just for fun. It might not actually work out that way. We'll probably run this again in another 2-3 weeks down the road to see how things may have changed and who might be the winner based on the standings at that point in time. Let me know down in the comments which team you think deserves and needs that first overall pick more than anybody else, and let me know some of the top prospects you're excited for and hope they end up with your favorite team as well. Thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.